您的金钱，您的保险，您的选择。AIG 美亚保险。
Welcome to ACM interview. Today we are happy to have Mr. Edward Amitete here. And we hear that you are going to run for an office. Can you talk about yourself, Mr. Amitete?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. It's great to be here. I'm actually running in Maryland, in Montgomery County, and it's right on the border of Washington, D.C., and I'm running in the north part. And the north part, it's District 2, and it's an area that's very underrepresented right now. Most of the other people in the council are from down county, and so the upper county doesn't get as much representation as it should. I'm also running as a Republican. I'm running as a Republican to bring some balance to the county's government because it's very dominated by one party, the Democratic Party, and that's helpful. Very interesting for your listeners is that the area I'm running for has a very vibrant, a very dynamic Chinese American community. In fact, two cities, Clarksburg and Germantown, have about the largest proportion of Asian Americans, in particular Chinese Americans, in practically the whole country for towns and cities their size. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I'm going to be running is I want to bring new voices to be heard in the county, and one of them is Chinese Americans. The other is things like ordinary taxpayers and ordinary citizens that seem to be left out of the dialogue too much.
I heard that you was a teacher before, right? Can you talk about your teaching career?
I've been a teacher. I've been in school administration, helped in that, and I've also been a part of education reform for the better part of 3 decades. I taught everywhere from 7th to 12th grade. My experiences guide me a great deal for how I would look at how to improve the education system. The education reform area that I've been studying and allowed me to look at schools all over the country, who's doing the best things and who is not doing the best things. And I've learned a lot, and I want to bring a lot of that when I do it. And hopefully we'll talk more about education in particular later on.
Yeah, you may know that for the Asian people, we put a lot of efforts on education. We invest a lot, actually. Say we send the kids to schools, and then we send the kids to the after-school programs. So the Chinese people, Asian people, kids education a lot. And do you see that we need to change in Montgomery County about the education?
Yeah, Montgomery County is very proud of their schools, and we've been ranked at times very, very high, and that's true with Maryland. That's no longer the case, but the decline has been recent enough so that it's not widely spread knowledge. And the reason isn't so much we're slackening, it's the rest of the country has gone into other directions, and they're improving much more rapidly. For example, in 2009, we had 11 high schools in the top 200 in Montgomery County. Today we only have 6 in the top 500. And places like Washington, D.C., Virginia, North Carolina that neighbor Maryland are all seeing their scores rise, and ours are not rising, and we're not closing the achievement gap. In places like Arizona that's taken their education reform movement even further, they have 6 of the top 10 high schools, 9 of the top 25, and they're closing the achievement gap with everything from Hispanics to Native Americans and everything. Closing the achievement gap is an interesting topic for Chinese Americans. Their achievement gap is that they're overachieving compared to the general population, but they should care that the achievement gap is closed, because once we start getting everybody doing their potential, then the discrimination you may see against Chinese American students because there's so many of them achieving, we need to save some spots for other people, that will start to disappear, and it'll be a more equal competition. So it is a good thing when the school system succeeds for everybody, because then it allows us to do two things. One, no longer discriminate against groups that are overachieving, but it also helps us say, well, now that everybody's starting to get to this level, we can take it to an even higher level, because sixth graders are ready for high school courses sometimes, and high school kids are ready for college courses, and we could be doing more of that. So I want to see the entire performance of students go up, and education reform is a very important part of that.
So you just mentioned that you are running for District 15, right?
It's District 2.
Oh, District 2.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
It's in the north part. It includes towns like Germantown, Clarksburg, Damascus, some North Potomac, Darnestown area. Then it goes up to Barnesville and up towards the border of Frederick.
Yeah, for this area, for the Asian people, there's a big weakness there. The reason is that we do not have a magnetic program in this area, though we have a big population of kids that are overachieving. So they do expect that there will be some magnet school or magnet program placed in this area, and that's a demand for the people. So what do you think if you get into the county council? Will you think that it will be a good thing to put a magnet school in this area?
I absolutely do. And when I'm in the council, I'll recognize that it's very likely that a large percentage of the rest of the council will be still from down county. So I need to spend a lot of time making sure the upper Montgomery County is served. So it'll be a priority, an absolute priority of mine. More things, not the transportation system has to be looked at in the upper county more. The mixed use villages and things like we need to do better things up county. But education and the magnet school are definitely two of them. And when I talk about education reform, I'd like to bring in successful education alternatives, charter schools, and other things that are out there that move the needle. I don't know if that make things improve even faster than even a magnet school can, but you are right on target by saying there's a need for a magnet school as far as north as the Clarksburg area.
Yeah, because we're talking about a lot about the high schools, the magnet programs in this area, and Chinese people or even the Asian community as a whole community, and they always talk about mainstream. Though we have lived here for decades, but we still talk about mainstream. So we think that we have inside land, or we may think that we are not included. So do you think it's a good way for the Asian people get into the mainstream, or help in the mainstream, or make them part of the mainstream? Do you have any suggestions on that?
It's very interesting. The Chinese community is not well understood. Especially when you consider how many there are now, and it's because you're using the word mainstream, meaning be noticed, be in the news, be considered more often, and the Chinese community is not as much as other communities. There's a lot of things people don't understand. They don't understand how diverse the Chinese American community is. There's a lot of cultures within China. They come from a very big area of the globe. They come with different circumstances, different experiences. They have different experiences and circumstances in the United States. They do have some commonalities. We talked about education, but there's others, and they're very interesting. One is, as a campaign, I find that the Chinese Americans I meet think very thoughtfully about issues. They expect the candidates to have thought very carefully about issues, and they challenge them to defend their viewpoint with facts and explain it carefully. They also have thoughts that they want to share, and it makes for great conversation. The other thing about the Chinese, the Chinese Americans will start answering your question, is that they have pretty consistent is they don't look for any favors, special favors from government. They just want candidates that'll do the right thing. They want government that is fair and common sense. They just don't want to be discriminated against, but they're not looking for anything. It has a funny situation in that it sometimes makes them less assertive than other groups in advocating for themselves. I find in the Montgomery County and even in neighboring Howard County that's starting to change. The Chinese American community has woken, and they're starting to get more confident about having their voice heard and getting participation in the government. We have more Chinese Americans running for office, and I just had a meeting with John Liao, who is running in Howard County. So that's all really good. That's really good, and I think that's why they haven't been mainstream. There's a saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and the Chinese Americans, because of their principles and the way they handle themselves, they haven't been squeaking. And to me, that's a good thing. That's a positive thing about the Chinese American culture and people. It doesn't always work for them in politics. So they kind of have to say, okay, we still just want to achieve. We want to be family-oriented, community-oriented, but I think we need to say a little more, do a little more. You know what? We're not happy with the way things are. So I'm very happy to see that happening.
In this country, they have the opportunity to get involved. They can voice up. They can voice out. So let the candidate know that what they want. So I know that you are running for the up-country people there. So what you will bring up on the table to help this community to achieve more?
It's interesting. The other thing that happens is all over our country, we have governments setting up agencies and departments that are designed to help certain groups. Tons of them. In Montgomery County schools have about 45 scholarship and extra help programs just for African Americans. 0 for Chinese Americans. And there's a lot that the government does that looks at a group and says, we want to help you. I want to do 2 things. I want to start turning these programs into things that are for everybody. It could be the struggling kids program or the poor people program, but it shouldn't be this group and that group and make it less ethnic oriented. But at the same time, I want to establish some things just for the Chinese Americans, a department that says this is what they need. They need an after-school program that takes them to the next level. Now, there are Chinese American students that struggle also, so it's got to be for everything. Maybe more Chinese Americans are going to start starting businesses. There's an Latin American Economic Development Corporation. There's not a Chinese American, I almost said Latin American again, Chinese American Economic Development Corporation. Maybe we need to have a department staffed by a Chinese American whose job is to help Chinese Americans get businesses started. So I want to do that as well.
Oh, that's good news for the Chinese community. And I think a lot of Chinese families, they really care about the business and the tax, the price of the value of the properties, and they really care who can speak for them. So this is a good time for Chinese people to know you. So do you think there is a good way for the Chinese community to reach you, or you have any ways, any suggestions for the Chinese community?
I'm going to tell you how they can reach me, but before I do that, the Chinese Americans do need someone to speak for them, but that's going to be a small part. The bigger part when I get in there is I'm going to help the Chinese Americans speak for themselves, and that will be even better. and that's what I want to do. I want them to say, this is happening. Would you please come down to the hearings, and you need to speak. And I'll let them know what's going on, and I'll say you may want to organize a group to help each other start businesses, and ask ask for help to do that from government, just like other groups do. To reach me, I have a website. It's www.edamatetti.com, and that's EDAMATETTI.com. I don't know if it's easy to see in the video. My number is 301-728-6505. You probably think it's crazy to give out my number, but not a whole lot of people call. But I'd be welcome phone calls because I love talking to voters. I love hearing from voters because I'm getting ideas for them all the time. The other thing is I welcome the opportunity to talk in front of you and your friends. Since education is so important, I often give, I lead education discussions where I might talk for a few minutes, open it to discussion, get questions, and it leads to other discussion, and it turns out to be very good, and some of them have lasted more than 2 hours, even though they were only supposed to be an hour, because all the participants want to hear each other talk.
Yeah, I think the Chinese community also organize a lot of events. Some events are really big. I think it will be a good thing if you can go to those events and see those Chinese people, face to face, and talk about your ideas and what you can bring to the Chinese community. That will be a very good thing. So, do you think in the future you will arrange some big events for the Chinese community?
Well, first of all, if you guys have an event, please contact me. I'd love to be there. I'm getting ready to put together an event. It's in its early stages, and Chinese Americans will be featured strongly, but it may be very Chinese American, it may be very education, it may be a combination. So either way, there'll be lots of Chinese Americans at this event, and it's scheduled for September, but it's still in the early stages. But it won't be. It may not be only Chinese Americans, which would also be good because it'll give communities and people that are thinking the same way about some issues to work together. Because you're not alone. There's a lot of people who agree with the things that most Chinese Americans agree with, and they can work together.
I think, it's really a good news for the Chinese community. The Chinese community cares education very much, and they value the education. And I think other races also value the education, but they may not invest as much as the Chinese or the Asian communities do. Why I say that? Because I know my wife spent a lot of time on the education for my kids. And I see, because I run in a Chinese business as well, or the education business as well. And I see a lot of Chinese family and the Indian family send the kids to those programs. And you have a very good agenda for the Chinese community. I really wish that more Chinese people get to know you, so they can interface with you more and then know you more. And I really wish you a good campaign for 2018, right?
Yes, thank you very, very much. I have one little funny story I can tell you. When I was a teacher, I had Explore Vision teams, and this is a very, very good international science competition. And I had a couple of Chinese Americans, especially excellent ones, on the team, and I found myself having to be quote unquote fighting with their parents because I needed them for my Explore Vision team, but they needed to go to their Chinese after school, and I said, can I borrow them for so we would have to trade to get their kids' time. And it was very funny. And we did some really good projects, and so I just love it. So thank you very much for having me here.
Oh, my pleasure, and good luck.
Thank you.